Hi everyone, my name is Israel Garza and I'm going to do a super fast tutorial on the user interface for Inkscape. To open Inkscape, you'll just go over wherever you have it saved on your desktop or in your files and double click to open. Here we have the user interface, and you can kind of see things that are very familiar to you up here in the upper left hand corner where it says File or Edit and the different menu options you have underneath. On the left-hand side, you have the different sort of actions that you can do inside of it. So up here on the left, you can see where it says Select and Transform. We can draw rectangles or 3D objects or circles and so forth. So these are the different things that you can do. When you click on each one of these objects, you'll notice that the menu changes up here at the top. And so that you can get into some real specific and granular resolution in terms of the things that you can do. And so let's say that I want to draw a rectangle. I can just click on that object and you can see my cursor has changed. And so to draw, you'll just click and hold and drag your mouse around and then release, and now I have my object. Now when you open up the software, you may or may not have this menu here, this fill and stroke. So I'm going to close this as if that doesn't show for you. So you can set the characteristics of the object that you created by right-clicking on the object and coming down here to fill and stroke. What do those two things mean? Fill is what the color is on the inside, whether there's a color there or not, and stroke is the edge, the line around the edge. And so we have three tabs up here. We have fill, stroke, paint, and then stroke styles. And so for the color on any one of these tabs, you have the different designs that you can pick from. You can pick from RGB or the CMYK wheel, CMYK or the wheel. I like the wheel just because it's graphically easier to see what I want. But if you wanted to dial in a specific value, you could certainly do that by typing those numbers. If you knew that you had a specific color that you wanted to use, you could certainly type that in. So I'm going to make this yellow. So I'm going to bring this around here to yellow and move my little reticle in the middle to this end and make it more yellow. And let's say that I want my edge to be green, so I'm going to come over here to stroke paint and drag this around here and make it green, and so that it's green. Now I can't quite see that, so I'm going to come over here to the green line. So I'm going to come over here to stroke style and I'm going to change that to 3 millimeters and hit enter. You can kind of see that that got a little bit thicker. Now one of the things that I can also change here is the blur or opacity. So you can kind of see that I can see through my shape here and I can see the little document behind it. And so if I take this and I drag this down here closer to 0, it starts to disappear and it's gone altogether. If I go to 100, it's fully non-opaque. You can't see it at all. I'm just going to type 100. You can type it in the value right there that you wanted. And so now it's fully non-see-through. So let's talk about some of the mouse controls. The way to select an object, you can either just click on an object, or I'm going to click away here, or click and drag a box around an object to select it. Either way, you'll end up with the standard selection. And when an object is selected, you'll see that we have a dotted line around this and you've got some different arrows. Now I can come over here to one of these arrows and click and hold and then move this object around to a different shape, right? So you notice that the height changes if I drag it up, or the width changes if I drag it to the side. I'm going to hit and release. I'm going to release that and hit escape and then just hit Control Z for undo because I want to go back to my original shape. Now let's say that I wanted to scale this up or down. If I click the object and press the Control key while I do that same action, you'll notice that it stays in the same aspect ratio in terms of height and width. Speaking of the control button, let's say that I wanted to zoom in on my document. I can use my scroll wheel, press the Control key and use my scroll wheel and go up and down. You can see how it zooms in and out. If I use my scroll wheel without holding the Control key, it just rolls it up or down. If I press and hold the scroll wheel, I can pan from side to side, or I can just pan my view. I'm just pressing the scroll wheel. So I'm going to click on this and just hit delete. So one of the other things that you can do is type text. So down here in the tool menu somewhere is the create and edit text object. So I'm going to just click that and click somewhere and type. You can kind of see, and then now that I'm done typing, I'm gonna click my selection, and I'm gonna scroll. I'm gonna zoom in, so I'm gonna hold that and pan. So now I have my text. I want to change that. I'm going to double click on it. Zoom back out a little bit. I want that to be on 2 lines. I'm going to double click here and hit enter. So you're familiar with how a text box works, and that's just basically what this is. So I want this to be a little bit bigger, so I'm going to press the control key and make it a little bit larger. Let's say that I wanted to change the font of this, so I can just double click here and highlight my text and go through any of the fonts that I would normally have on my computer. Now again, there are a lot of different kinds of images that you can bring here straight from the software. If I'm going to click on create stars, so I can create a star there, and you'll notice that it retained the characteristics of the object that I created earlier. So I want that, and let's say I don't want to do a specific star. I want a pentagon here. So I'm going to click over here and make a pentagon, and I want that to be a star. And let's say I wanted something with 6 points. So now I'll draw this, and this one I want 10 points. And I'll draw it over here. And let's say that I want this to be opaque. So I'll hold the control key here. So I'll right click, go to fill and stroke, and change my opacity to 50%. So this one I can see a little bit. I'm going to click that and delete. Delete these guys here. All right, so next, let's talk about images. So if part of your design includes something that you've taken a photograph with your phone, that could be a picture of a landscape or of a person, or just a picture of something that you drew on a piece of paper, or something that you downloaded from the internet. What you'll do is you'll save that image to your computer. So however you do that. So if you're at the internet and there's an image that you want to use, and you right click on it, you save that file somewhere on your computer, or you send that file from your phone to your computer. Somehow just get it on your machine so that you can bring it to Inkscape. And the cool thing about Inkscape is that it recognizes a lot of different file types. So it doesn't matter whether it is a SVG file or a JPG or a PNG, it will recognize it. So all you really have to do is just drag it and drop it onto your workspace. So I'm going to open up my file here and go to pictures and just bring in a picture. This one's called Scruffy. I'll just come in here and drag it in. When you bring in an image, you'll see that this window pops in, and you can leave all of these settings the way they come in, just as standard, and then click OK. And so I'm going to scroll out here. So let's say that I want this to be the full size of the document. So I'm going to hit Control and make this a little bit bigger and be right there. Okay. Now, keep in mind, when this project is a laser cutting project, and so the laser cutter essentially just burns the image onto a piece of wood. So effectively what it's doing is a grayscale version of whatever that image, and grayscale meaning it's just basically a black and white image. And so you might have an image that has a lot of different colors, but if you turn that to black and white, a lot of those colors would bleed together, because although they're different colors, they're the same brightness, and so they look the same on the page when you've turned it to black and white. So you'll have a better idea of what the image is going to look like once you turned it to black and white. So let's turn something black and white so we can see what this is going to look like. So here's how you do that. So I'm going to click on my object, come up here to Filters, down to Color, and come over to Colorize. I'll move this to the side. Now what you want to make sure that you have duotone and live preview checked. It moved to this orange color because that was whatever the color that was used last. So I'm going to come over here to color and change that. I'm going to move this all the way down here to the white corner there and click apply. And now you can see that it's a black and white image. I'm going to come back to options, and you can now play around with the harsh light and normal light to adjust the contrast. Oh, I need to check live preview. And just keep playing around with it until you're satisfied with the way it looks. And click apply and close. And so now you have your black and white image. The last thing I want to cover is how to crop your image. So cropping in Inkscape is not like normal cropping, that you just have that crop button that you can click. It's a little convoluted, but it's certainly doable. So here's how you crop an image. So you have to bring in a shape that you want to crop into that shape. So I'm just going to click on rectangle and draw the shape that I want. And so let's say that I wanted to not have that little wire in the image, nor do I want to have this little ceiling fan thing. So this is the shape of my image that I want it to be. So I'm going to go back to my selection tool, click away. I'm going to hold my shift key to select that black and white image and this yellow box here. Now that I have both of those selected, I can come up here to Object, Clip, and then click Set. Yes, I know, that doesn't make much sense, but that's how it works. So now I have my cropped image here. All right, so for the assignment itself, I'm going to close this and start completely over. Close without saving. When you open up your software, you'll go to the file that has been sent to you by Professor Lee. So I'll go to File, Open, and this one is last first, and click Open. And you can see that this layer here is locked, and that is the space that you have to work in. And so whatever it is you draw or design or make has to fit inside of this box. And so let's say that I want to put in a couple of cool spirals. So I typically have to go back to the selection tool to adjust things. So if you are in the middle of doing something and you wanted to click, and you'll notice that if you're in the middle of doing something, it doesn't go automatically back to selection. You'll notice that my cursor still has the icon for clicking to type. So if I clicked again, you can see the cursor starts in a new place. So you'll have to go back and click the select tool. So let's say that this is too big and I hold my control key. I want to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to move this over to make sure that it fits inside. And let's say I want to do some freehand drawing here. I don't know what that is. So when you have your design completely finished, you will come up here and go File, Save As, and put your information here. So for me, I'll change the last to my last name, and I'll change the first to my first name, and click Save. And once that's done, you can close it and then upload it into Canvas so that I can cut the design into the tablet holder that'll be specifically custom to you. So those are the basics of how to navigate around inside of Inkscape. If you have any questions, you're welcome to contact me directly. I'll be happy to do what I can to help you. If not, I can find the answer. But if you're really short on time and you had a specific question, I'm sure that you all know that the internet is a great resource in terms of videos or other sort of documentation to answer your questions. So thank you very much for watching, and good luck on your assignment.